It looks like it's time to get going. Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, well,
this meeting is being recorded.
Tonight we have a very interesting, important item on the agenda. We're going to talk about officer worn body cameras and the proposed program. And Chief John Schultz, I think, is going to give us a presentation, or at least kick us off. Chief?
Yes, sir. I'm going to try to share my screen. I have a presentation that goes with this. And slideshow. Okay. One more adjustment on this. Sorry. All right. Good evening, Council President, Council members. I'm John Schultz, Interim Police Chief. My goal this evening is to provide information to you about body-worn cameras, cost, and implementation. As a city, we've had this discussion about body cameras before, but recognizing now that this is more important than ever, given public expectations, sentiment, and laws. So with the mayor's urging and support, I wanted to bring this to you for further discussion. Typically, we bring this program to you with other budget requests. This year, we didn't add any new programs during the budget process, but advise that this may be something we bring forward in the future for consideration. So that future kind of came up pretty quick and is now. So presenting you with this. Why is this important? There are many reasons for the implementation of body-worn cameras. First and foremost, it leads to greater public trust, transparency, and legitimacy, and ultimately accountability. Which is built into our mission and a key part of us supporting the city's business plan of providing a safe, healthy, and vibrant community. It gives unbiased verification that your police department is doing it right. So some benefits. Several studies out now that show the use of body cameras have reduced the number of uses of force by a department. Also greatly reduces the number of complaints received. Studies also show that officers with body-worn cameras are less likely to be assaulted. Kind of has a parallel effect of holding the public accountable also. And they can offer an audible and visual evidence to help solidify. Oh, hey, sorry. Kevin just stopped by, said my notes are on the screen too. I think that's okay. I'll just continue with this. They can offer audible and visual evidence to help solidify criminal prosecutions and offer an unbiased testimonial of an incident, which is important when considering an officer-involved shooting or other serious use of force where officers may not immediately be writing up their report. So in lieu of a report, we actually have the visual representation and audible representation of what happened. So the recent passage of House Bill 1223 is the primary catalyst for bringing this for your consideration now and not waiting, to the next budget cycle. On January 1st of 2022, according to the House bill, law enforcement in the state of Washington will be required to record all custodial interviews of juvenile and adults for felonies. This law almost acts as a mandate, albeit an unfunded one, for agencies to get body-worn cameras. You can understand the difficulties officers will have conducting businesses in the field without body-worn cameras. So currently, we have in-car camera systems, but they're limited in their ability due to video having to be in the line of sight and audio having to be in the range of the vehicle. They record from the front and also has a camera covering the back seat for prisoner transport. Yeah, I can't fix it, sorry. In 2016, we did a body-worn camera trial where we tested two brands in the field, Axon and Coban. Part of the reason for doing this at the time was due to favorable legislation in regard to public disclosures. It stated that if we were able to have a program or we're testing one at the time, we'd be able to take advantage of certain restrictions of public disclosure to protect the privacy of individuals. Which is a great segue into what our policy says. Now, recall one of the previous concerns from council has been the privacy of individuals, especially when we are in private residences. I believe our policy takes that into consideration, giving officers the discretion in certain circumstances to stop recording when privacy outweighs any legitimate law enforcement interest. So being sensitive to victims and family members of crime. So barring a situation of sensitive nature, the body-worn camera will be activated in any enforcement and investigative contacts, traffic stops, self-initiated activity, and any contact that becomes adversarial in nature. So budget. When I gave this presentation to public safety a few weeks ago, we had included an estimate for additional staff to support the program. That staff was spread across the Police Department Records Division, City Attorneys, IT, and the City Clerk's Office. We initially based these estimates on implementation and support of the program, increase in public disclosure requests, and preparation of video evidence for criminal trial. What we would now propose, if we were to implement the system, is to do an assessment of the increased workload 6 months in and request additional staff if needed to support the program. This way we aren't over or understaffing to support the program. So the price you see is for the 5-year contract for the Axon system. Year one is $794,054, and year 2 through 5 is $670,400 per year. This cost includes the in-car camera systems. We're looking to have the same platform for the body-worn camera and the in-car system, and the body-worn cameras. Includes all the hardware, software, licensing agreements. Includes the cloud storage, an auto-tagging feature, which makes it so the dispatch call, we have on CAD, our dispatch program automatically integrates into the video system. So it'll have all the information, including the case number, incident number, the time of day, day of week, officers on scene, all gets integrated into the video file also, which is a huge time saver on the back end of this. Redaction software, which through the Axon system is well above the other system that we were looking at. And a sidearm signal. So when an officer either draws his gun or taser, if for some reason, safety reason or whatever, he didn't have time to turn his body-worn camera on, the camera automatically turns on. And also including in the plan that we're looking at is update of our taser inventory, which will offset some of our current expenses. So we'd be able to upgrade what we use, one of our less lethal tools as part of this integration. We're examining some of our grant options, but don't have any, we're looking at a couple grants through the Department of Justice, but don't have those funds committed yet. And we're also exploring the use of the ARPA funds as an option, although those funding priorities haven't been fully vetted out yet through administration. Again, I apologize. I'm not sure how I ended up with my notes on there at the same time, but am ready for any questions that you might have or concerns or feedback. I can end slideshow and I'll try to, oops.
Well, great presentation, Chief. Thank you.
Again,
and,
I apologize for having the notes on there at the same time, sir.
Oh, that's fine. There's no apology necessary. It made it easy to follow along, frankly. So, I see Councilmember Ed Prince has his hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the presentation, Chief. I said this in public safety, but I'm saying it so that all of my colleagues can hear it. I am happy that we're doing this. Not only do I think that it protects our officers, but I think it's also a huge protection for our community. So I'm very, very happy that we are on the route to installing body cameras here in Renton.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Prince. Other comments or questions from the council?
I would just echo what Councilmember Prince said.
Great. Thank you. And Councilmember Van has her hand up now.
Thank you, Council President. And again, thank you so much for the thorough presentation, Chief, and the work that you guys have put together. I mean, it's very fast and in terms of timeline, and it's very much appreciative in support of our community and our police officer, and to hold each other accountable. So appreciate the information. So thank you.
Great. Well, good. Well, Chief, I want to say I could tell that's a job well done based on the council response and lack of questions. I think you really covered it well. I think this is what we're all looking for. So commend you and your staff that have worked on it. And I guess I can't remember if the charts showed the specifics about when we're going to see it really starting up.
Yes, sir. I think our next steps would be to come to you with the agenda bill. And so following this, I was going to see what any questions, concerns, or comments we had. And then we will put that forward to the Finance Committee for further.
Okay. Council Member Perez.
Thank you. I guess the follow-up will be where the money's going to come from.
Right. And again, I touched on that a little bit. We are exploring a Department of Justice grant specifically for the implementation of body camera programs. And then we were looking at using some of the ARPA funds. And there was also some funding from the state legislature in line with some of the recent legislation that was passed that's coming to municipalities to help them offset some of the costs that are kind of go with some of the new legislation.
Okay. Councilmember Benedetti.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Chief. This actually, everyone should leave their notes on. The closed captioning was good. It was very helpful, especially when we're talking about some of the numbers and everything. What it sounds to me, and is that because we were already, doing some research in this area, we've been able to be really responsive now that the legislation has happened. Are we going to be competing with other police agencies for these funds to be able to support this, or do we think that we have a pretty good lead on everybody to be able to secure them?
For the Department of Justice grant, we're probably right in there with everyone else that started doing this. The grant came out about the same time that some of the legislation came out. We have one of our admin assistants actually saw it come up and really hopped on it quickly. So hopefully that gives us a leg up. But I wish I could answer that more positive.
Well, Doug Levy wants to jump in. Doug? Doug, are you there? If you are, you're muted. Yep.
I'm here now. Thank you. I just wanted to, in response to Councilmember Benedetti's question and just expanding on what the chief mentioned, the legislature in this past session set aside $20 million for cities and $30 million for counties to help offset the costs of some of the policing reform bills and the Blake legislation that was passed. So for all of your awareness, that will amount to about $4 per capita, and we should be receiving that soon. So for us, that's probably somewhere on the order of $425,000 a year. We don't know if that'll be beyond the 2-year horizon, but it will be at least for the 21 through 23 biennium.
Thank you, Doug. That's very helpful. That goes far to help close that gap. Councilmember Perez?
Thank you. I think I should have been more clear with my comment. When I'm talking about the funds, these are not the funds to purchase the cameras, but the funds to maintain the records. Are we going to need to increase the budget to be able to maintain and keep the records? And are we going to have? Are we going to need any full-time employees to do this, or we don't have those details yet?
Right, and that's what we're hoping to assess. I mean, we can estimate it, but we wanted to maybe get the program in place and then assess what the needs are going to be. We can foresee there's probably going to be an increase in public disclosure requests that'll, undoubtedly affect the police department records and probably, city clerk's office. IT may have a piece of this where they may need to increase their staff, and as well as the city attorney's office with the increase in body-worn camera footage and how that's going to affect their preparation for trial. So that's something that we were looking at without being able to put a solid number on it and maybe, ask for too much or too little. We wanted to maybe get the program in place, assess what our needs are, and then if we do have them, come back with that request.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilmember Benedetti.
To follow up on Councilmember Perez's question, do we have information from other jurisdictions who have implemented this about what kinds of costs were associated other than the contract for the cameras? And do we have some comparables so that we can have an idea of what we might be in for?
So we have spoken with other jurisdictions that have recently added body cameras, and the answers were random and kind of all over the board. We had some that had added staff ahead of it from either, like-sized departments, 3 to 6, new staff members, just for what they thought would be an influx of public disclosure requests. And we have some other agencies that didn't add any and haven't seen that big of an increase. So I guess that if there was an overwhelming argument that yes, you have to have them because of this, that then we would be asking for those extra full-time employees also. But since it's kind of all over the board on what other agencies are seeing, we thought it best maybe to sit back and see what additional resources we might need down the road instead of asking for them now.
Well, thank you. Good questions. Good questions. I appreciate the answers. Okay. Well, I don't see any other hands raised, and of course, council knows, and you're not shy about asking those questions midweek. If anything comes up, don't hesitate. So if I don't see any other urgent hands raised, with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the committee of the whole, and we'll reconvene in a little less than 45 minutes for the regular council meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.